Excellent, thank you very much, and very aware we're the final panel before your 2 drinks per head, or 4 drinks per head, whatever we can manage. Let me start by introducing my fabulous panel. In fact, could you guys each introduce yourselves? I know we already know Andy, but we'll go again. And can you please say what has been sort of the key headline or the key development from your perspective over the past 12 months? Paul?
Hi guys, my name's Paul Gubbins. I work for a CTV ad server called Publieurope. And I guess what I found really exciting over the last 12 months is the rising importance of programmatic technology in TV advertising. I think eMarketer recently put out some stats saying that 7 in 10 CTV ad dollars will be transacted or fulfilled in a programmatic way this year. And it's not just AVOD and fast apps that are attracting that programmatic demand, but we're also seeing really cool innovation from the traditional linear broadcasters as well, closer to home, the likes of ITV with Planet V, and more recently with Channel 4. So that's what I'm really excited about this year. It's how programmatic is transforming this really growing ecosystem of ours, which is TV advertising.
Julie.
Cool. Hi, my name is Julie Selman. I'm the head of EMEA at Magnite, and we are the world's largest independent ad platform. And basically, we help publishers and advertisers transact between each other. And I would say this year, we saw a great development with regards to CTV, where we did a big study recently looking at user behavior. So what we found was really that sort of at the beginning of the pandemic, CTV usage was really up, like we saw in Andy's presentation earlier. We always said, like, oh, you know, CTV users are the younger generation and the older generation is on linear. But what we saw from this study is really hybrid viewing now, which is really exciting and really important as well for marketers to know.
Great.
Same question. Yeah, so Andy Jones, you've just seen me. So I look after the agency business at Samsung Ads. This is where I kind of wish I'd given lots of preparation for this one as well. But I would say growth is the headline for this year. It's been such an exciting time. I know one thing that I definitely have done is worn out my slippers, because that's all I've worn all year. But there is growth. There is growth in the number of TVs that have been sold. There's been growth in the awareness and excitement from clients and agencies. So there's a growth in the conversations that we're having. We're getting growth in the data that we're executing against. And I just think there's an exciting time to be in this space as the old meets the new. And everyone's trying to embrace it in the best possible way. So it's been a very good and exciting year. And this, I think the theme of growth is definitely sort of due to keep coming next year as well.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Negri. I'm Vice President Marketing and Business Development in Publieurope, that is international sales house of Mediatel Group. And I'm here representing the European Broadcaster Exchange as board member. EBX is a joint venture between 4 major broadcasters in Europe: Channel 4, TF1, ProSiebenSat.1, and Mediaset for Italy and Spain. And in terms of headline for us this year, I would mention the technology, because we managed to build a tech stack to give access to our premium inventory on a centralized way. So even if each broadcaster in market is not using the same technology, now for trading desk and clients, there is one single access point to buy our premium inventory. And this was a massive achievement.
Excellent. So I'm hearing a lot about growth, changing transactional models. This is the panel about connected TV. So this panel focuses specifically on connected TV, but I feel that pretty much every panel has referenced connected TV during the course of today. So just to build on these ideas about growth and hybridity and changing business models. So let's start with the supply side. What sort of emerging trends have we seen on the supply side over the past 12 months? What's the emerging trends in connected TV sales? Start with you, Mara.
Sure. Regarding the broadcaster side, I can mention the 4 major trends we see in any market. One major trend is about technology, and technology is try to improve the way linear and connected TV spaces are interact each other, and this means better control, and it's also have an easy way to buy connected TV also for small, medium clients. There is another pillar that is data. Of course, we are lucky because we have first-party data, but we want to give clients the opportunity to use their first-party data to match with ours and to do a bit more of cross-screen data targeting, so make the TV interact with the digital. Then there is, of course, measurement. Today has been mentioned a lot, and measurement for us is the total video topic and the fact of having an independent measurement, a trusted measurement for the market. And last pillar is creativity. So have formats, think for connected TV, the placement, first spotters, not the switching format, and all the research we can do on this space.
Okay. And what about, from your perspective, Julie, emerging trends in the supply side?
Yeah, so like I was saying before, we've seen a big change in user behavior and also from our publisher side. So our CTV publishers are growing really rapidly, and this is great because we can now sort of see the hybrid campaigns being booked as well. We have some great case studies where we have marketers really targeting the CTV space, but we can then measure the incremental reach. We use audience projects, and we've seen some really great results. So we did a case study, for example, with Under Armour, and we saw that 100,000 viewers were actually completely incremental to their linear campaign. 30% were digital-only viewers, so things like that have been really exciting to see, and we're trying to apply this now to every campaign that we work with, and it's a great tool for our publishers, our CTV publishers, to prove kind of their worth in the space.
Okay, so good perspective on these emerging trends, but also there's a lot to unpack in there in terms of data, technology, perspectives, incremental reach. What about you, Paul? What trends are you seeing on the supply side from a connected TV point of view?
I think when it comes to data activation, we're seeing all types of television, be it addressable, linear, AVOD and fast, really looking at how they leverage their first-party data and third-party data to attract a new type of advertiser to television for the first time. So there's lots of talk in the industry at the moment about how we transition linear ad dollars to addressable TV. And that is a journey that we all know brands and marketeers are currently on at the moment. But I think the more pressing matter of discussion is how we enable different types of advertisers, direct-to-consumer, social, digital advertisers, to enter TV advertising for the very first time. And that data enablement that I was just discussing is enabling those types of advertisers to make that transition. So that's something that we're seeing.
So you're seeing a new breed of advertiser, first to TV advertiser, you're able to reach more advertisers through connected TV specifically?
No, we're seeing publishers, streaming publishers, so be it traditional linear broadcasters or AVOD and fast apps, capturing a new type of advertiser that they never historically had sight of because there wasn't the data and technology to onboard those ad spends into their environments. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So, and when you look at these trends, what's accelerating that, and then what's holding it back?
Again, it's the increase of technology enabling a brand to take their CRM data, push that into a DMP or a data onboarding service, and then extend their reach into TV for the first time. Historically, it's been very difficult for brands to do that. Yes, there are targeting capabilities on linear broadcast, and that's worked extremely well, but we're now seeing the types of targeting capabilities that digital and social have only had being made available on the big screen television in the family living room. And that's happening for lots of brands for the very first time. And that's really exciting to those smaller DTC, digital and social guys that haven't been able to get their ads onto the big screen TV environment. And again, it's a technology and it's the data modeling capabilities that are enabling them to do that and do that at scale.
So, Andy, turning to you, are you seeing something similar to that from an agency buyer perspective about new buyers coming into television?
I think our challenge with the agency community is understanding where we fit. So we broadly talk about connected TV, but the work that we would do with an app partner is completely different than the work we would do with a car brand, for instance. Different formats, different executions, different data. So actually, a big part of what we've been trying to do this year is talk to the brands to get them really clear about the data that they could execute with us, but also the planners, because they don't really care what it's called. They want to follow the consumer in whatever sort of environment that consumer is in. So I find it's a little bit challenging, certainly with AV teams, to see if we are an AV solution, because if we're promoting that engagement ad, that's not AV. So let's not talk to those guys. Let's talk to them about the TV Plus environment, because that's the 30-second TV spot, as opposed to a digital display ad. So it's been on us, absolutely, to be relevant. So just because we're a recognized brand as Samsung, doesn't matter. We've got to make sure that we're giving the right ad opportunity, backed up with the right data, and we're talking to the right actual teams within the agency, because I sympathize, I'm ex-agency as well. If you just come in with a new proposition, but you can't prove that it's effective and it's not relevant for that particular department, then you won't get anywhere. So we need to, like I say, we need to talk to the AV teams in AV language, we talk to the digital teams in their language, but ultimately, if the planner understands it, then we're getting success.
Is that something that resonates with you, Jeannie?
Yeah, it does. I mean, we are an omni-channel platform, so we do display, out-of-home, audio, CTV, and anything in between. And so, I think the holy grail for a brand, depending on its size, is to kind of have a touch point across all these different points that we go through our day where we see ads. So, a billboard, when you're in your car, ads on your phone, the radio, podcasts, etc. So we try to obviously be everywhere. And I think one of the tricky things is, the agencies are not yet, and brands as well, set up for this sort of omni-channel approach, but it's getting there. And then things like measurement and how do you make sure that, frequency capping and things like that across the day, let's say, that you're going through and see these different ads. So I think it's a huge opportunity and we're getting there. And the great thing is that now with all these new technologies, TV is part of this strategy all of a sudden. It was always a bit siloed because it's a very different way of buying TV historically. And now having TV in the digital realm, you can do lots more things and become truly omnichannel, which is obviously what we at Magnite really like to see. But what our brand sort of partners are telling us, this is what we would like to do. And I think this will also spur on publishers and broadcasters to get on that train faster. So, yeah. Okay,
so we're talking about being able to reach people at different times and different stages. What about in the purchase funnel? Do we look at a different role for connected TV compared with broadcast TV? Are we talking about incremental reach? Are we talking about trying to target people that have already seen? And how does that work?
Well, I think, so for sure, like Paul was saying, there's definitely an opportunity now for different types of brands or different stages in your campaign where you're going for the more performance goals as an advertiser, or you're a smaller performance brand that all of a sudden has the opportunity to be on that large screen. And then on top of that, I think, measurement obviously is very important. But we did this study and we also looked at sort of user intent. And one of the things is that we found was that people seeing ads on TV, they understand that sort of payoff. Okay, there's subscription fatigue. People are happy now to then start watching something and see an ad, but they want to see a relevant ad. And if they see a relevant ad, they're happy about this, and their intent to purchase then is higher as well. So that's really exciting as well, because then you get more to the performance type of brands rather than the large FMCG brands that have been on the TV for years. So I think that's a very exciting development as well.
So from an EBX perspective, Mara, you're looking at across 5 key markets. Do you see any different trends there in terms of advertisers, like maybe the different kind of advertisers or different teams? Or again, are people using connected TV for something different from linear TV advertising?
We see connected TV as a very flexible medium, because at the end you have clients that are using connected TV together with linear because they're looking for reach, incremental reach, or they're looking for frequency, and also working on frequency. For example, you can reach live TV viewers, so when the target, it's quite difficult to reach on linear TV that is consuming a lot connected TV. We see new clients, so clients that are not buying linear, maybe for a budget reasons, because it's less affordable, but also clients that are not buying linear because, for example, have product or services geolocated, so it doesn't make sense to target the entire market, but they prefer to go in the space, in the region where they want to push the product. We see TV standalone, but we also see a cross-screen strategy, and of course we see the power of data in general, so the addressable TV in any market. So I would say all markets are following the same path with different speed, but the trend is the same, and it's why 4 years ago we decided to put together forces.
So what are the different speeds? Who's ahead and who's lagging?
In terms of
the markets?
Of course, in terms of product, I would say UK is one of the leading markets, but then we have a difference between markets. So you have, for example, in France, data, you have deterministic data because connected TV in France is IPTV. Or you have, for example, UK ahead in terms of using clients' data because they unlocked they mentioned this morning, so the opportunity to put clients' data together with channel for data and use it for different purposes. For example, to do cross sales. So I know a specific product is sold on this target panel, and I propose another one. I want to reach clients that are not active since 6 months, for example, or I exclude current clients and I do the opposite. So really depends on the market. For example, Italy is really advanced in terms of testing and trying new ad formats. So I wouldn't put like an order, but there are peculiarity in each market.
And how do you measure this incremental reach? We've all talked about this on the panel and in your presentation too. So how do you measure that incremental reach? Do you have to use a different partner in each market, or have you built that into your stack?
When you, if you go to linear and then you use connected TV as an extension, you simply try to exclude who was in TV, exposed on the linear one, and you go farther. So this is coming from our data, actually.
And are you able to do something similar with data?
We are. So as a quick reminder, ACR, so automatic content recognition. The benefit of being able to measure the glass is it just takes the complexity away for us. So it doesn't matter if an ad was shown on broadcaster A, B, or C. It doesn't matter if it was through that set-top box or through that streaming device. If it's happened on the glass, we've been able to measure it. So very simply, if you wanted to deliver incremental reach, deterministically, it's very simple. We just start building up a pool of all those TVs that saw your ad and exclude them. And we only serve the ad to those TVs that have not already been exposed. But working with the agencies, it's bringing relevance to that as well. So, I was quite amused by one agency conversation I had that I shared the results of their campaign on our TVs. And whilst they were going for 70, 80% 1+, they actually only achieved 45% 1+ cover on our TVs through linear. And their response was, well, we're clearly not going to share that with the client because that makes us look bad. And I understand that point of view, I really do. So actually what we have done is try to be sympathetic to the buyer, because if 46% of our TVs are only watching less than 3 hours of linear TV a month, it's going to be very hard, in fact, impossible to hit 70, 80% 1+ cover. So what we've actually done is split all of our TVs based off their linear usage, so into 3 equal terciles, and seeing how they delivered their linear campaign and then what incremental reach we were able to deliver. And I tell you what, we deliver very little incremental reach to the heaviest and the medium linear viewers. That is what linear does brilliantly. But on average, even for a big heavyweight campaign, light is only about 15% 1+, and non-linear is obviously 0. And that is where we complement linear. And I think that's what's got traction with the agencies, because it shows that they're doing a fantastic work on linear, but they're having to use other sources, including BVOD, to top up the light and non-linear.
And what's a good practice around applying additional data to that? So you've both talked about having first-party data. What are the good practices in that sphere?
So we use Kantar at the moment, and I think the big development that we'll be moving into next year is getting more of an idea of that household. So I know we're not talking GDPR here, but again, a point I made is that everything is done with the consent of the customer. We are now getting that consent to be able to do more with our data and start sharing it with third parties. So we will be able to start syncing with third-party data sets, so we will be able to measure any linear NR exposure through to purchase. So that's not right now, but that will be something that's deliverable next year.
Transaction on the TV, yep, or in-store?
No, in-store.
Great, and what about from an EBX perspective with data?
We use data in a different way. I mentioned geotargeting. That was probably the easiest way at the very beginning to convince clients not on TV to invest on connected TV. We use, of course, also the household information we have, because based on the viewer's habit, we know that in a specific house you have or you don't have kids, for example, if it's a household with one person or many persons, so we know this kind of information. It's targeting based on content and on context, so this of course is available, and then targeting cross-device. So for example, we are now experimenting the fact that we deliver first a spot on TV, and then we retarget on digital, or we do a digital campaign excluding the people already exposed. So the opportunities are really different.
Okay. What about you, Paul, from your perspective, in best practices around data? And just to qualify, everything that you're doing is programmatic specifically, whereas...
Correct. So Publieurope, again, we're an ad service, so we don't activate any media, but we work with very large streaming publishers and smart TV manufacturers. So we get to see some of those best practices play out at the moment. Andy, I think you touched upon GDPR, and what we're seeing, certainly from a European perspective, is more streaming publishers now adopting consent management platforms to make sure that they're compliant with the IAB transparency and consent framework. And I think we'll see more streaming publishers approach privacy in that way next year as they look to grow their programmatic demand. The DSPs, the tools that the agencies use to buy inventory in a programmatic way, increasingly need to see CTV inventory with a privacy consent mechanic passed with it so they can serve them targeted advertising. And I think as more advertising dollars flow into addressable TV next year, privacy will be at the heart of that kind of strategy for many of the agencies when they're trying to target those audiences in streaming environments.
Julie?
Yeah, I mean,
private marketplaces, is it all programmatic with you when you're using data?
So we are programmatic only, yes, for sure, and very similar to Paul. And I think, we work with the large publishers on this, and we obviously have to be the technology that can enable it. Similar.
But with you, Mara, this isn't just programmatic. I just want to make it clear, connected TV doesn't necessarily just mean programmatic advertising.
So now we have the tech stack I mentioned at the beginning, so we can transact on programmatic guaranteed, but then of course managed service or tech-based, tech-managed-based way is still available for clients to buy.
So what do we need to do before this whole conference is about connected TV, before connected TV replaces the broadcast TV altogether? So if we only had, by this time next year or 2 years from now, and the broadcast signal would be switched off, what would we need to do to have the same amount of money flow into the businesses that you're working for, to keep selling ads, to have the quality, to be able to deliver that? What needs to change?
I would say we need to build better ad breaks in CTV advertising. If you're a linear TV advertiser, thus far for the last 30, 40 years, you've had fantastic controls in broadcast ad breaks. You can manage frequency, you can manage competitive separation, you can manage ad clash. Now, they do not want to invest their money into CTV ad breaks where their ads run back to back with their competitors, where somebody's TV screen buffers, it loads, and then there's a blank screen, and then there's 15 seconds before the next ad plays. And when the next ad does play, it's the ad that you saw 15 seconds prior. So to answer your question, Joanna, I think the infrastructure needs to be in place that empowers streaming publishers to create seamless ad breaks. So the content plays in a seamless way with the advertising. And that's happening as more streaming publishers adopt a practice called server-side ad insertion. The acronym in industry, of course, because we have to have one, is SSAI. But I think ad tech is going to be instrumental next year in creating those ad breaks and giving the publishers the controls to give advertisers the levers that they need to invest more money into addressable TV environments. But again, without the ad breaks, the ad dollars aren't going to follow. And at the moment, I think we all agree that some CTV ad breaks pretty much suck.
And is that programmatic CTV ad break?
No, so there is no real definition. So programmatic or managed service or direct sold, it's the publisher's choice. An ad break is an ad break. If they set it in a programmatic way, then there are controls. But if they set it on a managed basis, their ad ops team still traffic the campaigns. So they still have to be able to have the controls in their ad breaks to give advertisers the visibility around things like frequency. Frequency is a real pain point for many big brands at the moment. And it's one of the main reasons they're still not investing more into addressable CTV ad breaks, because they can't manage the basics of frequency. And
how do you handle that? Julie or Andy?
Well, similarly to Paul, we also actually own an ad server called SpringServe, so very similar pain points that we see. I would say, though, in the next 2 years, I think programmatic and automation is going to be really key. Again, we need to solve the tech for it, but that's going to be key. I think, again, I don't really like the distinction, sort of broadcaster versus, I don't know, fast. It's all TV. It's the user, they don't see the difference really. It's, the user wants choice, they want good content, and they want seamless experiences. So we need to be able to have the technology ready. And I think in terms of automation and just automating the seller and buyer interaction, that's already there in digital. That's pretty much 99%. The IO business doesn't really exist there anymore, and it's going in that direction. So I think from a tech perspective, that's where we're going, and that's where everyone sort of needs to get on board.
So we're going there, right? So we've decided we're going there. So there's some things that we need to address. So let's just run through some of these things, and you can tell me if you think they're important or not. So how do we maximize the value of connected TV audiences? Is that about more programmatic auctions?
From a publisher's perspective, yes. Header bidding, unified auctions.
Adding more bidders.
So at the moment, you may have a direct sales team, they go into an agency. If you open up to programmatic demand, all of a sudden you can have 20 different SSPs competing for your inventory with all of the controls around pricing. You can still give your direct sales team priority access over inventory and data, but more competition creates higher density. Higher density leads to greater yields. So yes.
Is that complicated?
No. Obviously, you need to have an ad ops team. But if you're a broadcaster, look at ITV and Channel 4. They're investing a huge amount at the moment into programmatic infrastructure. The AVOD apps, the fast apps, they're all doing the same, because increasingly those services are selling their inventory via programmatic technologies. So the concept of unified auctions and header bidding are a fantastic way for publishers to increase their yields next year.
Okay, so more programmatic, more auctions, header bidding. What about better measurement? What about being able to understand co-viewing? Is that more important or less important than more auctions? Higher or lower, people?
It's all relative.
It's all relative, okay.
But it's important. It's definitely important. And measurement in general, again, my omni-channel, it's important in terms of incremental reach, attribution. It's important between formats. We curate a lot of sort of publish your content and sell that to agencies. So how can you measure, I don't know, who's doing better than the competitor, et cetera. So measurement is extremely important. Co-viewing is very important, and I think under-researched still. But again, it's a bit relative towards...
So work to do. It's not complicated to add more auctions. We need
yeah, it is complicated.
It is complicated. Yes. And we need better measurement, also complicated. What about attribution? How do we measure the outcomes? You can measure store visits. Is that more important? Is that attribution more important or less important than better measurement on co-viewing? Higher or lower, Andy?
It's been a long day, hasn't it? I think we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that it's all about content. So the viewers want great content at their convenience, a point that I made before. But I was brilliant listening to the advertisers. They want safe environments and proof of effectiveness. And I think attribution is absolutely going to be key to that. They want holistic measurement. They want consistent third-party verification. I think that's what's coming. A lot of that was a bit over my head, and I think it's just time of the day. But I think let's not lose sight of the fact that if it's not a good experience for the viewer, they're not going to engage. And if it's not working for the advertiser, they're not going to spend. So we kind of got to focus on that, and whichever way that works is brilliant.
There are a lot of asks here. I feel like we've made a lot of progress, but there's still a lot of asks, a lot of things that we need to develop. So it doesn't sound like the broadcast spectrum will be switched off and will be ready, but maybe, Mara, that's not a relevant...
No, we don't think this will happen. For us, connected TV is really the new house for the content, is the better, the best of the two worlds, linear plus technology.
Okay. All right, so the technology sounds great, but it's not quite there yet. The data is good. We've ticked all the GDPR boxes, but there's still more requests. We need more holistic auctions. So we've all made great achievements since this time last year. Lots left yet to go. So looking forward let's just go down the line with a final question. What is going to be the thing in each of your opinions that will have a transformative effect on the audience here over the next 12 months?
I think the discoverability of free streaming services on televisions will transform the way that TV advertising is bought and sold within the next 3 years.
What he said, no. No, I think, yeah, again, if we look 2 years back, everything looked so different, and we're now here talking about connected TV pretty much all day, even though we pretend we're not talking about it, right? So I think in a year from now, it's going to just be even more, maybe we drop the connected and we just talk about TV, but then we'll all know we're talking about something connected to the internet. And I think, again, programmatic will be a huge part of that from a marketer's perspective.
Love that. Agree with you.
Thank you.
But it's kind of a similar point. I'm really excited by getting closer to the clients and trying to answer their needs. So it's better measurement, third-party verification, but attribution. I think if we can nail that attribution, then it's going to improve the power of TV, no matter what, if it's broadcast, linear, or connected. It kind of doesn't matter. If you can attribute that exposure through to a purchase or an event, then it's going to work even harder.
And for us, is also make it really easy to buy. So it should be straightforward for the clients. And then I think will be key the way we will integrate linear and connected TV. So it should be more and more integrated.
Integration, more holistic, more buyers, more programmatic, and getting closer to the clients. But it does sound like this is the last panel on connected TV ever, and it will just be weaved into the rest of the conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your patience. Please join me in thanking the panel.